This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trend in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Hello, everybody. Are you stressed out yet? Well, if it isn't the hurricane over in Louisiana causing floods and the rains, and if it isn't earthquakes here in Malibu, California, what else is there? Well, let me tell you, there's the election. That's pretty darn stressful. I don't know what you thought of the debate. I thought it was kind of useless. And I didn't think either one won the debate. Unfortunately, Kamala didn't give any of her policies, and I think that's a problem for her. I would like to hear some of her policies. You know, I wouldn't mind having a female be president of the United States. I actually think we're a little behind in that, since other countries do have women in the highest position. But I'm not in favor of her because I really feel she does lean towards Marxist ideas. Now, Trump, he tried to control himself. You know, he loves to do the macho man. But I am a Trump fan, as you know. So I don't even think he won. I'm not that nutty that I would ever go against my beliefs and my principles. So I'm still on his side. We'll see what happens. I don't know if there'll be another debate. He says he doesn't want to. Why should he? She kind of did the same thing in the beginning. So who knows? Who knows what will happen? And we have several days left. But early voting is starting, so I hope we get some more information from both of them. I don't blame Melania for wanting to know more detail about the assassination attempt. I think we haven't heard enough. I think it needs to be investigated more. So many people are starting rumors about inside jobs and foreign countries because of all of those encrypted accounts that the shooter had. It's not good. And the Secret Service calling people back and not giving them to the president and all the way they should have is also very bad. They sort of did that to Robert Kennedy, when he was running. They wouldn't give him social security. They wouldn't give him security on his campaigning until the very end there. This doesn't seem right to me. So to me, this is part of the stressfulness of this time's election. I think we need to find out some more of what's going on with all of that. But no wonder you're stressed also when you hear about school shootings every day and people are saying what they should do to stop them, and little children are being killed and teachers are being killed. What are they going to do? This is not something that should be done right away. It needs some thought. We can't keep having the shootings. How could the mother call and tell everybody what was going on and then nothing was followed through on? I don't understand that. It's bad. It's terrifying. My daughter still has young children, 6 and 10. And there they are at school, and they have live shooter drills. It's horrible, horrible. Okay, moving on now. Um, Besides the terrible hurricane in Louisiana, we are having horrible fires out here in California. Unfortunately, a lot of times with these fires in even countryside where there aren't a lot of people, they're turning out to be arson. These are sick people that are doing this. This is spread to the mountains close to Los Angeles, and some of them actually surround the desert area. It's going up to Arrowhead and Wrightwood, where so many of us kids learned how to ski. It's devastating. Yes, there are some wealthy people that have homes on the lake, but there's many just average people like you and me are losing their homes. And now, because of all the wildfires, they can't get any home insurance anymore. So we commend the fire workers, all of the firefighters and the people who put the food out for the firefighters and all, and we want them all to be safe. And so we ask God to bless them and watch over them. Well, let's talk about stress. That's a lot of stress as far as I'm concerned, just all of that. But you know, we all have everyday stress too. And there's good stress and there's bad stress. I'm going through some bad stress, and I have been for quite a while, ever since I lost my son nearly 3 years ago. But I have a lot of other stress in my life too. My husband is not feeling great. We moved down here. And anytime you move, whether it's because you want to or you have to for business, whatever, we chose to move to the desert and we love the desert. But I can't say that we're really settled yet because this little condo needs some work on it. And I just don't have time to get it done. But then evening when I'm sitting and having a glass of wine before dinner, I get all stressed out. I get, oh my gosh, the kitchen has to be redone. And it needs to be redone, believe me. It's not just wishful thinking. Well, we looked at the condo before we moved in, and this is one of the top things that will stress you out is moving. And we looked at this condo thoroughly, but with the inspector, no, but we're finding little things that shouldn't have been allowed to go through escrow without knowing. And certainly wasn't our realtor's fault. It was the other realtor's fault. So no move goes absolutely smoothly. Now, many times, because Lou is in the corporate world and in the higher echelons of it, they paid for your moving expenses, which was nice. I was shocked when we had to pay for our own. I'm not kidding you, really shocked. Now, this is an industry that hasn't had too much regulation until more recently. So that would take a lot of stress off of people if they'd clean that one up a little bit. But also the bad stress is things when you have a spouse who is ill or a spouse who is passing away or a child, even in their late 40s, who takes their own life. Those are extreme cases of stress. And it's very difficult to get through that. That's not what we're talking about today because I'm not a grief counselor. As you can see, I'm still grieving, so I'm not the best one to talk to about it. But I will tell you that there is more bad stress when you listen to the news and they're talking about inflation. Yes, it's improved slightly, but they're talking about getting the digital dollar and they're talking about the prices going up. And in California, the price of gas never varies that much. It's always high, higher than anywhere else. It's crazy. They talk about a gallon of gas back east or in the Midwest, and it's like $3.50. And they think, my gosh, price of gas is really high. Well, guess what? out here, it's $5 minimum, and sometimes goes up to 6 and 7. That's because we have an enormous amount of taxes in California on the gas. So that will stress you out. Having your grandkids go to school and know that they are doing these exercises of live gun shootings and all, making these little kids. Do you recall when you were in elementary school? Probably, if you're my age, we would have fire drills where we all went outside and stood in lines and away from the buildings. But we also had bomb drills. Bomb drills, where we would have to drop, get under your desk, cover your head. Those were pretty stressful at a young age, and that was still stressful for the parents. Well, it goes on and on like that. You have an accident in your car, and that's high stress. You've got to report it. You got to make sure everybody is safe and not injured. You have to call the insurance company. Maybe you have a great insurance company. Maybe you don't have a great insurance company. Will they pay for a rental car? Will they total your car so that you have some kind of compensation to go buy a new car? And then that means more car payments. It's a circle that goes on and on and on for just about anything in life these days. Have your kids apply to university. Oh my gosh, they want to take the SAT, the ACT, whatever they're taking these days. And then they have to choose a school, but they have to write essays and they have to see the grade point averages. And you choose not one or two. Now these kids are applying to 10, 12, 15 because it's so difficult to get into the higher education schools and what they consider the good universities and the state schools and all of this. So that is really a lot of pressure on the entire family. But mostly it falls on the shoulders of the person who is the caretaker, mostly being women. Now, don't criticize me. I'm saying mostly. Of course, there's men who stay home and take care of their kids. Or maybe there isn't a mother, or maybe there isn't a father. And so everybody has to figure out how to do it. Maybe you have to get student loans, and then the government says, we'll pay them, and then they don't pay them. And yes, they're supposed to have lower interest rates, but I don't think that's even in effect anymore. I don't know. So there's all sorts of things that goes on with really bad stress, and I have only touched the tip of the iceberg. But what I want to talk about is also good stress. You get stressed when you're the mother or the father of the bride and you want to put on a beautiful wedding for your daughter or son. And you think everything is handled, and then at the last minute, oh my gosh, the gown wasn't altered correctly. Oh, this bridesmaid is sick. But that's all good stress because you can correct it, and you can correct it pretty fast. It's stressful to see if your son or daughter, when they're little, or your grandkids, get on the soccer team they want to be on, or the baseball team, or the football team when they're in high school. What can you do about it? You can't really do anything about it. You let them go through it and learn how they can handle their stress and what they can do to improve their chances of making the team. That's good stress. It's also competitive stress when it's the game that they're playing. You get all jacked up to go out on the field and you concentrate your best and you win the game. Boy, that was good stress. But if you're on the losing side, that good stress of getting revved up for the game suddenly becomes bad stress. So we go through many, many kinds of stress in our lives. And most of it can be handled by concentrating and being mindful and thinking joyous thoughts and loving and hugging your family. Excuse me, and the other friends that you have, and discussing it with them. But let's dig a little deeper. It seems that women have more stress than men. Now, that could be argued because mostly in the United States, we still have the man going out to support the family. It's just been recently, since our generation started having women go into the workplace, that they contribute more financially. And they are also finding more interesting things for them to do with their higher education, or they're having to be the responsible person for the finances. They just want to go work and contribute to society. A lot of women want to do that. I was a working mom, but I never missed anything at school. But that was because I owned my own company. So there's all things that we can do. And if you have a partner or your friends are around you, you should look at the trigger points. What happens to you? What triggers you? Your grandchild falling down and breaking a bone? The car accident? The finances, going into the grocery store and seeing the high prices. And maybe you're a steak or roast beef person, and now you can't afford it. It's a crazy world we live in. And I think instead of making it better, the election is making it much, much worse, because we really don't know what is going to happen. And a lot of people feel that the last couple elections were not fair. So we have to listen to that all the time too. What is a sign of a woman or a man having so much stress in their life that it's starting to be obvious to other people, people in the family, people at work? Well, number one, particularly for women, is crying or becoming very angry and expressing this angriness and having arguments with their partner, yelling at the children, they're being too noisy, when you could just really say, hey, why don't you pick up those things and we'll do some reading now. Being calm and helpful. Fatigue, not sleeping, insomnia, and just getting tired all the time, mostly because of insomnia, but because you can't complete all the tasks that you want to complete in one day or 1 week, whatever your goal is. Also, you could get headaches, joint pain, panic attacks. Panic attacks are really bad. You might think you're having a heart attack. You might be short of breath. But if you really think that it's not, you had better call 911. A lot of people experience panic attacks, but there's usually one panic attack that starts before you've ever had them that you better call 911, because you think you're having the heart attack. You can't breathe. You need to sit down. You need to lie down. What do? You call 911 because you need to be checked out. The EMTs come, the paramedics come, and they'll go over you with your symptoms and all and figure out if you need EKGs, whatever. They might take you to the emergency room or what have you. If you're prone to panic attacks, your first one will scare you almost to death itself. So they're not funny. You need to get help. And if you're prone to panic attacks, it's not a great thing. So I want you to figure out how you can calm down and step out of that place that is making you so stressed out. All righty. Well, things go up and down. Men don't have panic attacks so much. They just go into heart attacks. They seem to be able to, at work, exhibit their emotions more than women. I don't mean yelling and screaming. I mean, they have figured out how to argue in a decent manner, in a more polite manner, if they're trying to get a point across, if they're trying to be an attorney. You see the attorneys on television now, and they're talking and defending somebody, or they're prosecuting somebody, and they're calm. They don't lose their temper. That is a skill that you should learn, particularly the men who are in positions where it really matters like that. If you're working on the line and putting cars together and all, I'm sure you have frustrating minutes too. But you also learn from some training that you cannot lose your temper when you're on the production line. So it goes with white collar and blue collar, mothers and fathers, the caretaker, and what have you. And the stress leads to these emotions. So that's what we're trying to get rid of. But we're also trying to get rid of your heart beating so fast that you think you're having a heart attack. Some of the other things that stress causes are blurry vision and depression. Blurry vision comes, I think, I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but this is what I've been told, because everything in your head is going crazy and it's affecting your blurry vision, your vision. So that is another sign. And you may be so depressed from your stress that you just want to go to bed. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to go out of the house. These are all caused by extreme stress. Well, what can we do about it? I think if you have extreme stress, and you should be able to tell yourself if you have it, you should get professional help. Because if you are having panic attacks all the time, a doctor needs to talk to you. And the doctor, the primary care physician, may recommend that you go see a therapist to help control your panic attacks. But the primary physician will also have your heart looked at so that you can then relax and know that you're not having heart attacks, that you're just having the stress build up too much. So what we want to do is find ways to alleviate your stress. Well, you can get that bridal dress altered. That's the good stress. You can work out and exercise and do all of that for the football games. And win or lose, you will have learned something, and that will get rid of your stress. The good stress is good. It helps you get through what you need to accomplish. But the bad stress can do all sorts of things to your body. First, I want to talk about some natural supplements that you could take maybe before going to your doctor. After the doctor says you're not having heart attacks, you can look into that. And there's some very popular ones. Now, I know a lot of people like to go to regular allopathic doctors. I like a combination of alternative health and allopathic doctors. Please don't do anything without seeing professional consultations with doctors and nurse practitioners, doctor advocates, all of this. So what I want to tell you are there are some things that you must know before you go to the supplement store, like a GNC or even CVS has natural medicine in it now, all of the different herbs and vitamins all. You want to know what you're looking for. So are you depressed? There are things on the market that you could take. Ashwagandha is one of them. And people are having quite a good result with ashwagandha. Some of these are homeopathic, some are Indian, Chinese, different herbs and formulas. Look at them, study them. Don't just go grab something. Ask your pharmacist, whatever. The person in the GNC supplement store, I'm not pushing GNC. I just happen to have worked with them with my magazine. So I'm just talking about that. But what you do want to do is make sure that the manufacturer of these natural supplements are legitimate. None of the different formulas and all should be taken unless you know they've had clinical trials on it. And the company does clinical trials, and some of them blind, so that the people who are taking them and trying to approve them will get the right results. Blind meaning people don't know if they're getting a placebo or the real thing. Don't pick up a bottle of something that says this is stress-free. Look at the ingredients. You shouldn't have more than 5 ingredients in it, if even that many. So sometimes they combine things with different herbs, and you want to be very careful about that. The ashwagandha is great, the passion flower is great, the lemon balm is great. But I also want to tell you, you may be low in different vitamins, and that's why I want you to go have blood work done. If you feel like you're depressed and you're not just getting through your stressful days in a manner you want to, you might be very low in D3. That's because so many of us now work inside the home or work inside an office. They don't even go out for lunch. They don't take a walk. They're just in this artificial light all day long. Excuse me. All day long. I'm having a little throat problem here. So you need to take D3. D3 will help when you're not getting enough sunshine to keep you from getting depressed. D3 is given to people who have terrible problems with depression to make it go up in a higher range. And you should take vitamin C. The reason I tell you you should go to different doctors and talk to different doctors, whether they're in alternative medicine or they're in allopathic medicine, is because people have different ideas. Now, as I said, we've been changing doctors, and when you do that, you need to write down for the doctors every medication you're taking. Well, I take a thyroid supplement, a pill, and I now take an antidepressant, anti-anxiety since I lost my son. I'm almost off of it. I'm weaning myself off slowly because I was crying every day. This is such a horrible thing to go through. And I don't see anything wrong with that. And if your doctor wants you to take life-saving things like blood thinners, I think you should do that. So I'm not opposed to that. What I'm opposed to is something that a doctor recently said to me when he was looking at what I take. I take vitamin C, quite a bit of it. And I know what all the studies are. There's nothing else in it. And I need it. I think everybody needs some vitamin C to boost your immune system. So he saw this and he said, I don't want you to take the vitamin C anymore. I want you to eat an orange a day. Well, here's the problem. I take 1,000 micrograms of vitamin C. An orange doesn't have that in it. Do you know how many oranges you'd have to eat? So I love oranges. I do eat oranges, but it's not enough. So you have to be very careful about these things that people tell you to do. And all of these supplements and and herbs and things are not bad for you, but do your research and speak to doctors, get some professional information. You know, nutritionists are wonderful with this kind of information. And there's books out there, of course. Now we're getting some doctors who, even though they have become extremely wealthy with their practices and getting celebrity clients and all, they want to write books and get more money and come up with diets and all sorts of things. They're getting away from eating good food. That's one thing that will lower your stress is if you eat a good diet. Now, there's one doctor out there who says you should not eat tomatoes because of the lecithins in them, okay? Peel the tomato if you're going to eat it. Well, that's okay. But don't eat them. They're not good for you. Cook them. That's moderately okay for you. Well, let me ask you something. Why is the United States so overweight, obese, and in ill health when Italy eats tomatoes all the time? Mhm. Just ask yourself some of these questions. Now, there are things that you should be eating, and I want you to do your homework on this. Don't get into this thing that you can't eat any of the food that you grew up eating. You know, a few years ago, people said, don't eat avocados. Well, now that's one of the things you should eat because the oil in it is so healthy and it has fiber and it's wonderful for you. It came back in favor after everybody started eating avocado toast. Now, isn't that silly? Okay. Well, it's good. I like avocado toast. Not to pay $10 for in a restaurant, but I eat avocado toast at home quite frequently. Some people say you shouldn't eat eggs. Well, that's not true either. A few years ago, they said that eggs will cause high cholesterol and oatmeal will cure it. Well, all these things add to your stress because you can't figure out what you're supposed to eat. Well, you shouldn't eat oatmeal because it will cause you all sorts of problems if you eat it every single day. You should eat eggs because eggs are calming to you. Some of the other things that are really good for you to eat to calm yourself down with your stress, and I'm talking about you should eat these in your diet all the time. It will help you deal with stress at the office. It will help you deal with stress at home. Anything you're doing, if you're stressed all day long because you're overwhelmed, be sure your diet is good. If you need to go to the doctor, you need to be looked at before he prescribes any kind of calming medication. All right? Let's go down the list of what you should have in your diet all the time to help alleviate your daily stress. Berries, such as strawberries, blueberries, any kind of berries, they're really good for you. But plus the other fruits like apples, bananas, pears, oranges, all the citruses. Now, don't forget that grapefruit, for some odd reason, still remains on the list to be very careful with certain medications that you won't be able to, sorry, I had to decline a call here. Your medication, it interferes with your prescription drugs, so watch that. That's the one thing. But all the things, even figs, those are wonderful for you. Grapes are good. Grapes are good to eat. Grapes are good in wine too. And a glass of wine, particularly red wine, is calming and it also boosts your immunity. So don't listen to everything. Explore it and get some professional ideas. leafy green vegetables. Everybody tells you that. So it's a perfectly normal diet if you add a few things to it, like the berries. You probably don't eat a lot of berries because if you live in the Midwest or the East Coast, they're more expensive than they are in California, where we have pretty much direct access to things coming from Mexico that are very good. And the farmers here, central coast of California, was once the breadbasket of all the vegetables and things, as well as, of course, having the wheat and all growing in the plains areas. So, besides that, we want you to eat good protein. That means fatty fish, good fish oil, omega-3 in fish. Salmon is the very best, but don't buy farm raised fish of any kind. Those fish swim around and around in their little farms and their little troughs, and they are pooping in it, and then they're eating it, and then they're passing mercury back and forth because some of them were caught and put in there to breed. This is craziness, this farm fresh fish. They add color to the salmon, they add it to other fish. Don't let people pass off fish that is farm raised to you. Go someplace where you can get wild caught fish. There are plenty of companies around now that have wild caught fish. I want to tell you about one that is the one I use, and I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just telling you this because I love my audience. It's Wild Alaskan Seafood, and it's a family-owned business, and they will send you a box of fish, 6-ounce packages, caught right there, cleaned, filleted, put it all vacuum sealed, and ship it immediately. And we can even get it here in the desert. They ship to anywhere because then they layer it with the dried ice and it comes perfectly frozen. And I stick it in my freezer, and it's a marvelous thing to eat, and it helps everything in your body to do that. So eat more fish, but I also think you should have some red meat for protein. I see nothing wrong with you having a steak once in a while or a roast beef. Like women used to cook roasts on Sunday when everybody would come back from church and they'd sit at a family dinner. That would be nice if we had those kind of things anymore, but we don't. So I think you should eat red meat once in a while, and you should eat organ meats. There is a fallacy that because liver and kidneys and different things like that cleanse your body, that you shouldn't eat them. But there's nothing better than sweetbreads and all to eat. Explore these things that have lots of nutrients in them. And not only will you feel better, but you'll also learn some new things and new tasty meals. Cook in the kitchen. I will tell you one thing. I just bought a Cuisinart air fryer. I'm not getting paid by Cuisinart either. I'm just passing on some information to you. There's only 2 of us at home now. So I bought a very small one, but it's enough to cook for 4 people if you would like to do that. You can actually take the frozen salmon or whatever that you have in your freezer and put it in this air fryer, and it'll be done in 10 to 12 minutes. No matter how you like it, you can adjust the time on it, and you can read the instructions and all. I got it because I can't stand the smell of fish in the house. I love to eat it, but I don't like the smell. So this alleviates the smell, the odor of the fish cooking. It cooks it to the perfect temperature you want. If you like, we like ours more on the undercooked side. We don't like it dried out, but we like it cooked, but not dried out. So 10 minutes, 12 minutes. I'm telling you, the cleanup is the easiest thing in the world. I'm in love with my air fryer. Isn't that crazy? But I love it. And you will too. You can even bake cinnamon rolls in it. It's perfect for a man if you don't like to cook. If you want something fresh, you don't want to eat all that prepared frozen food. Okay, let's see. So we covered farm-raised food, and we don't want you to eat any prepared food or preserved food, things like that. Now you should all know that, right? Okay. I wonder what they put in school lunches when they send our grandkids to them or wherever they live in dorms and things. What are they using? That would be one of the first things I'd go through before sending my kids away to school. Okay, particularly for the ladies out there, guess what? One of the number one things is that's healthy for you. Oh, you know it. It's dark chocolate. Try it. It will raise your spirits, but it's also good for you. All right, so when you're really, really depressed or stressed, depressed because you're stressed and you're overwhelmed, well, first of all, you should organize your life so you're not quite so overstressed. And I will tell you that's one of my problems is after moving, I'm not as organized as I used to be. And I don't have an office per se now. I have an office studio, which I can't even get into yet. So whatever you're doing, even if you don't have an office or you want a nook in your kitchen, whatever, organize it so you don't have papers sitting all over and books sitting all over. And I hope I don't have to tell you that you shouldn't have clothes lying on the floor that need to go into the washing machine and things like that. Not everybody has a housekeeper. And if you don't, you have to be your own. A clean house and an organized house is your best bet for not becoming stressed when you're also trying to work from home. And lots of people work from home now. And you might not be as fortunate as some people to have your own office in the house, which I much prefer, but now we downsized and I don't have one exactly like that. So that's what you need to do. That and your diet, and figure out what you definitely are going to avoid. Now, I am in favor of having a glass of wine in the evenings. Normally, I have it with my dinner, and if we're not going out, I will have it usually just one glass of wine, red wine, with my dinner. If we're having a special occasion, of course, I'll have a couple of glasses of wine. And ladies, remember, it's not ladylike to have more than 2 drinks. I would get off of regular alcohol. I know it's fun to sip a nice single malt scotch or a great bourbon, vodka, if you're into vodka. But as you get older, you can't handle them. And I know most of my friends now have given up those things and they've gone straight to wine. And they only have a couple glasses because as you age, you don't metabolize the alcohol the way you did when you were young. If you're under a lot of stress, I'll let you have 2 drinks. I don't blame you. But I wouldn't want you to take any drugs. Don't get into the cocaine. Don't get into whatever you're into. Don't get into them. And don't get hooked on the things that doctors are trying to give you. Get a mild relaxant or anti-anxiety thing and get off of it as soon as you can. Now, when you're taking these alternative things like the different vitamins and the ashwagandha, something like that, it usually takes about 3 months to try them out and see if they're helping you, and you will get gradually feel you're not as stressed, you're more relaxed as it goes on. They work differently than medications, prescription drugs. Those are fast and they work right away, but they also knock you out sometimes. Um, so you want to get off of them as soon as possible. But when you're really suffering a huge loss in your life, that's something different. All righty. Well, the last thing I want to tell you is the alcohol. The same goes for sugar. Get off of sugar and added sugar. If you want to bake cookies with your grandkids, of course you can have some sugar. But most recipes, you can cut the sugar in half and it's perfectly good. Be sure you use good sugar. There's all kinds of sugar out there with who knows what's in it. And caffeine, I am not in favor of caffeine. Some people say it's good for you. Well, great. Have 1 cup of coffee a day. Don't drink a pot of coffee. Don't drink it all day long. And get off the Starbucks kick. First of all, it's expensive if you're trying to watch your budget. And secondly, I don't think their coffee is very good, but a lot of people swear by it. And don't think I'm wrong. If we're on a road trip from the desert up to Santa Barbara, I might have a Starbucks. Some of them are like malted milks and things. I mean, they're like a dessert. So, of course, if you want to treat yourself, anything within moderation is perfectly fine. But sugar adds to your stress. Sugar will make you hyper. So don't get on the sugar kick. You be very, very careful. But the one thing you have to stop eating, you have to stop going to McDonald's, and you have to stop eating their French fries, and you have to stop getting those frozen burritos and enchiladas and sticking them in your freezer and eating that processed food, because that does nothing but add to your stress. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, there are 4 more things I want you to do. Number 1 is talk to people. Don't be a loner. Get out. And if you're having a hard time getting out, maybe you should join a group. You could join a political group. You could join a church group. You could join a golf club or go play golf at the local community golf club. Meet people and talk to people. Now, if you have a really good friend that you could talk to about your stress and your depression, do that. Don't choose the biggest gossip in your community. Make this be a truly heartfelt friend. The next thing I want you to do all involves getting outside, except for exercise. You can exercise in the house. You can walk around your house, even if it's tiny. You can walk around your house. You can lift little dumbbells, 10-pound weights. You can dance to the music. Or you can go out and you can walk and run. And you can do that in nature, and getting out in nature. And the other thing is sunshine. We all need it. And if you do all those 4 things, I think you'll find that your stress level is going down incrementally to what you do. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye for the day. I want you to go out and enjoy the weather, except where the earthquakes and hurricanes are. And I want you to remember always to be kind, be joyful, and praise whoever you believe in. I believe in God and Jesus, so I want you to do that too, if that's how you feel. All right. 9/11 was yesterday, and we were in Prague when that happened. And someday I will tell you the story of our being overseas when 9/11 happened. We pray for all those families left behind and still grieving. Thank you. God bless America. And remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today.